Okay, go.
Welcome. The Wednesday, October 7th, 2020 meeting of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging is called to order. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please turn your mics on and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now have roll call taken by Staff Liaison Francine Sprague.
So I do have to ask a question. Can you all hear the feedback that I'm hearing?
No.
Okay,
No.
Okay, good. I'm just checking. It's okay. Please say here present when I call your name. Chair Guerra.
Here.
Vice Chair Belding.
Here.
Commissioner Burt.
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Bluel. Commissioner Janelle.
Here.
Commissioner Loans.
Present.
Commissioner Posta is absent. Commissioner Sylvester.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
This is a time in our meeting when we invite members of the public to state their concerns about senior-related issues in our city or to present items for commission consideration. Speakers have 3 minutes, and when you come to the podium, please state your name and the city in which you reside. And I don't believe that there are any concerns or cards at this time. So at this point, we're going to go to item number 5, which is our guest speaker. That is Mike Hauser, Transit Manager for the City of Thousand Oaks. Okay, Mike, take it away.
Well, thank you very much, Council. It's always a pleasure to be here and to be able to discuss transit with you. Just by way of background, just so you know a little bit about me, I am a 22-year employee of the City of Thousand Oaks, and for about the last 11 and a half years, I have been the chief point person for the city's transit program. And so my overall responsibility is to running the day-to-day operations of our own transit system, as well as the 5 other systems that we operate on behalf of other agencies. So at this time, I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully my PowerPoint presentation will be up and ready to go. Bear with me just a moment. And so hopefully you all see my PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Except it does not want to change the page for me. So bear with me just a second. There we go. So a little bit about Thousand Oaks Transit as a way of background, and the information I'm going to give you today is what I would call pre-pandemic. We'll talk a little bit about how the pandemic is affecting our operations, and also give you just some background about services in general and what we're looking forward to in the future. So currently, locally in Thousand Oaks, we operate 5 bus routes using 11 buses. We provide the dial-a-ride service, which is the service for seniors and those persons with disabilities. And we use 18 vehicles in total to provide that service locally. However, all the services that we operate for not only our agency, but the other agencies I'm going to talk about in a moment, we have just over 52 vehicles that we have in service. Our service area is about 2.5 times the size of the Thousand Oaks city limits. And we carry roughly about 400,000 passengers a year on an $8 million budget. And it's very small staff because unlike many agencies, we don't directly operate the service, but rather we contract it out. And our contractor has about 70 local staff involved in that. In addition to our own services, we also operate the bus and dial ride services for the city of Moore Park and maintain their vehicles for them. Over in the Oak Park area, we operate the Canaan Shuttle for the county of Ventura. We also operate the Oak Park dial ride service. We also operate a service for the city of Westlake Village, the city of Agoura Hills. And lastly, we are the lead agency for the East County Transit Alliance, which operates intercity dial ride service. And I'll talk a little bit more about that service in depth a little bit later in my presentation. Now, one of the questions that frequently gets asked, particularly I think by those people who don't need or want to use public transit, is why does the city even bother? In other words, is the city somehow compelled to provide public transit service? And as with any public service, it's a complicated answer. But in a nutshell, the city committed to almost 45 years ago operating bus service. And essentially, once it did that, it committed to providing public transit for the long haul. And because we provide bus service, we're also required by federal law to operate paratransit services for those people that are covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, the one primary service that the city does provide that it has no legal obligation to is the senior dial ride service. And we do not have to directly operate the services ourselves. We could farm that out to another agency. But in doing so, we'd also give up control. We feel that having a local service operated by local staff and locally funded is the best way to provide service to our residents. Now, of course, the impacts of the pandemic have been fairly substantial on all transit systems across the country, and we are no exception. We saw almost instantly our bus ridership drop by 80+%. Our dial ride service dropped by over 90%, almost overnight. And as a result, we made some decisions to otherwise cancel, suspend, or modify some of our services. Our contractor was forced to furlough and lay off employees. And we are anticipating, as a result of how we get funded, which I'll talk a little bit more in a minute, that we're going to see substantial reductions in the amount of funding that's available to us in the coming years. And not only impacting us with less revenue is the fact that the cost per ride has gone up because we can't spread the overhead over as many rides. In particular impact this year was the summer beach bus that all the students look forward to, teens, and even a lot of our seniors, who we have several seniors in past years that take it almost every day to go to the beach. We had to cancel that service this year. So our immediate response was multifold. One of the first things that we did, we suspended the bus service outright for 6 weeks, and that was a precautionary measure. Nobody knew for certain how impactful this immediate response was going to be in terms of the infection rates. And we wanted to ensure the viability of the dial-a-ride service, that we had staff and resources to do that. We have many people that rely on this for essential services such as dialysis and cancer treatments. And we wanted to ensure that we had staff that were safe and unaffected and that could continue to provide that service. We reduced our service hours. We also waived our fares. Twofold. One, folks on limited incomes were seeing an impact in terms of the pandemic, in terms of their ability to receive funds and spend funds. And we also wanted to ensure that we limited the contact between the rider and driver as much as possible. We also started a policy where we only transport one person at a time on the dial ride service. It's normally a shared ride service that you might be sharing with 2, 3, or 4 other people. We also closed our transportation center for a period of time. Again, that was to protect staff and protect those people who may be traveling a long distance. So we wanted to minimize the interaction. And we substantially increased our sanitation disinfection of the vehicles. Interestingly enough, we already had a policy for dial-a-ride that dated back about 3 years, where we did routine wipe downs of the vehicle multiple times a day using the same types of materials that you would buy at Costco, the Clorox wipes and Lysol. And so we substantially increased that, as well as nightly disinfectant using medical grade disinfectants. And in the beginning, face coverings were suggested and they were mandatory for our staff. Where today? Well, we are back to all of our normal operating hours. All of our services are running as normally, although we do restrict the buses. The capacity right now of the bus, depending on what bus you're on, is somewhere between 8 and 13 for buses that normally carry somewhere between 40 and 55 people. Face coverings are mandatory for all services, both passenger and driver, and we will provide those upon request. Additionally, for our dial-a-ride customers and those customers that are at our transportation center, we are also handing out hand sanitizer as well, a travel size. We continue with our multiple times a day cleaning, our deep cleanings at night, and we're continuing to waive fares. And this is a very substantial impact to the program. We rely, as many agencies do, partially on our fares to pay for services. So we're going to continue to suspend that. And I would anticipate that's at least through the end of this year. And so it does offer an opportunity when we balance sort of safety with wanting to try something that you've never tried before, that we've made the service as safe as possible. And if you've ever wanted to try transit, I would encourage you that now may be an opportune time, because it doesn't cost you anything to do so. And finally, we've loosened various restriction and package policies. We recognize that people that may have gone weekly can now only afford to go out monthly, or only want to go out monthly. So we've lifted a lot of the restrictions we've had with the number of groceries, for instance, that you can bring on board. It's also not an issue now that it's only one vehicle. It's essentially your vehicle now. So you don't have to be concerned about what other people are bringing on board. And our new normal going forward, for not only for us and other agencies, is going to be probably some capacity control on the buses for a long time, until there is a full lifting of the health emergency and social distancing requirements. When schools decide to open up again, we're going to have to make some adjustments to the bus services. We do have some situations in the afternoons where we do have buses that are filled absolutely to capacity at 50 to 55. That's obviously something that we're not going to be able to do until the health emergency is lifted. We're going to have to continue with our service limitations on the dial-a-ride, but we will allow more passengers aboard the larger vehicles. And we're going to also have the bus operators behind enclosures now, and that may be something that we will roll out to dial-a-ride at a later date. And I would suggest to everybody that, at least on public transit, including airlines, cruise ships, and the like, that mandatory mask use is going to be the new normal for a very long time. So what has COVID-19 done to how the city pays for transit? And it's important to understand that transit is its own funding. We don't compete with funds for parks or for police or fire or for streets and roads. The funding that we get is specifically earmarked for transit. Now, we were very fortunate that the first stimulus package provided the city directly about $3.5 million in additional funding. We've already spent about $500,000 of that in additional costs to provide service. That's the cleanings, the supplies, the loss of fares. So it's been very helpful. However, we get about 60% of our funding from the state, and we expect 30 to 40% reductions in those amounts for at least the next 2 years, possibly 3. So that $3.5 million, while we're fortunate to receive it, is not a windfall for the city. It's only simply going to cover the funding that we're going to lose. We're going to have higher overall cost to provide service. We may not be able to continue to contribute the $1 million that we do to the streets and roads maintenance annually out of the transit funds. And there's some legislation that requires us to collect a certain amount from the public for fares. And if we can't do that, the city has to make up the difference. And obviously not charging any fares at all means that the city is 100% responsible for that. Currently, we have a waiver on that through the end of this current fiscal year, which is through June of 2021. So it's not an issue right now. But it also may be that we need to revisit the concept of a sales tax in support of local transit. LA County has 3 of them. Ventura County is the second largest county by population in California that doesn't have some form of sales tax to support local public transit. So let's talk real briefly about our actual services. As I mentioned, we have 5 local routes in town. We operate from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. We also operate on reduced hours on Saturdays. And as I previously mentioned, we do have a summer beach bus. Unfortunately, we had to cancel it this year, but we're very hopeful to operate it next year. While fares are suspended, this slide does show our regular fares, and you'll notice that seniors, people with disabilities, or if you have Medicare or Medi-Cal, you ride for 1/4 the cost of a regular passenger. We do have discount passes that are available, and the senior passes and disabled passes are equally discounted. We also have special passes once school gets back into session and we begin charging fares. We have special student discounted 31-day passes. We have free transfers. We provide free rides to anybody who's enrolled in any of the 5 public colleges, large colleges here in the county. That's the 3 community colleges, plus Cal State, Channel Islands, and CLU. Our dial-a-ride services similarly are operated on the same hours as the bus service, but in addition, it also operates on Sunday. Our service is available to any resident 65 and older and anybody who's 65 and older. So if you ever have relatives that come out and visit and they need local transportation, they're eligible to use the service. You do not need to be a resident of the community. It's also open for persons with disabilities that are qualified under the Americans with Disabilities Act. There's no pre-registration required. You simply call our reservation number, which I'll provide later in the presentation. Ask to sign up. We'll ask you some basic questions, and all you need to do is to prove your eligibility the first time, and that's all there is to it. There's no longer a need to get an ID card.
Wow.
Cost for this service locally is $4 each way, and it's $6 for intercity. The map, and I do apologize, is going to be a bit hard to read on the presentation, but this is the service area where a Thousand Oaks resident can go anywhere within that peach and light blue areas without a transfer. So you can get all the way to the far end of Camarillo, into Agoura Hills, the far end of Simi Valley on a direct ride. Even without the pandemic, 2020 was a big year for transit. Early in January, we established some new service hours. We did some slight reductions in our service hours. That was in response to our ridership. We had some fare increases, and we did some policy changes to better keep the service going with the resources that we had available. But our big change was very recent on August the 3rd, when we completely revamped all the routes in the community. One of the things we did was now 4 of the 5 bus routes all come together at the same time at the same location, which means instead of an average wait time of between 30 and 40 minutes to transfer between buses, now 80% of the time it's 10 minutes or less. We also have a service that's dedicated solely to going up and down Thousand Oaks Boulevard, what we call bidirectionally, which has cut in half the travel time for people that need to use that service. We have a new crosstown service that can get somebody from the Newberry Park area directly to the transportation center or to the Westlake area of Thousand Oaks without the need to transfer. We also changed the names and numbers of the descriptions of the buses, and that was part of a county-wide effort that will be growing over the next few years to standardize our bus routing numbers. For those of you that may be on VCTC, their bus numbers are between the 50 and 80 range. So what's going to be the future of transportation in Thousand Oaks? This is the one slide I forgot to take the animation off of. Well, I'm happy to report that by 2024, we will be operating electric buses in the community. We're actively, we have a project right now that will be breaking ground very soon on solar canopies over at our municipal service center. And we're going to use that to generate power during the day to feed back to the buses at night. You may see some more autonomous vehicles in the community, particularly in the downtown area in future years. Your bus on your left, or sorry, on the top right is a hydrogen fuel cell bus, which may be the new future. And while I would love to have some type of train service running up and down the boulevard, unlikely, but never say never when it comes to transit. So if you need information about local transit or regional transit, we've got some resources. First of all, you can contact myself and any of our staff at our email account, which is listed on the screen. That's totransit@toks.org. We have a wonderful webpage full of information about our services and all the regional services. And that's www.totransit.org. And like all organizations, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we provide almost daily updates to those, little tidbits, things that you can do to stay safe during the coronavirus pandemic, and information about upcoming services and things that are happening in the community. And lastly, you have questions about Dial-A-Ride or need information about any of the bus services locally or regionally. Our primary reservation for Dial-A-Ride is listed on the screen there on top, 375-5467. We have a bunch of wonderful, experienced call takers that'll be happy to assist you. And on some days right now, they actually get a little bit bored, I think. So you can certainly reach out to them. And then the bus information line, almost the same number, 375-5473. And so with that, I am going to get out of the screen share, and I will be happy to answer any questions about the service or anything that you want to know related to perhaps safety of public transit as it relates to the pandemic right now.
Mike, that was really informative, and I really appreciated just updating us, especially with COVID and the Dial-A-Ride service. So at this time, I want to open it up to the commissioners to ask any questions of you. So maybe we can start this by just raising your hand and I'll call upon you. So why don't we start with Commissioner Sylvester, and if you would unmute yourself. Go ahead, unmute.
There we go. Sorry. Thank you. That was really interesting and really informative. Just really one quick question. Obviously, the pandemic has changed the whole landscape of transit, but I'm wondering, pre-pandemic, what were some of the trends you were seeing in the community in terms of usage, age of usage, and all that interesting stuff?
Wonderful question. So let's take the Dial-A-Ride first. Up until very recently, we were seeing a continual trend upwards in terms of the ratio of seniors to the people that were disabled, whereas the number of seniors riding the service was going down at a fairly steady rate, and the number of those people that were ADA qualified was going up at a comparable rate. Our overall ridership in the service for Dial-A-Ride is down about 20% in the last 2.5 years. Now, we can attribute it to a lot of things. Some speculation is that some people are taking advantage of the Ubers and Lyfts to get the services that they need. And of course, with an improving economy up until here very recently, that generally means that there are family members and others who are more willing to reach out and help provide those services. On the flip side, for the bus services, we are like many agencies across the country, despite putting more services out and leveraging technology and bringing new things to the table, we continue to see a drop in bus ridership. And locally, in terms of California, there was a clear correlation several years ago to the changes in the rules for driver's license that had an almost immediate impact in terms of bus ridership. There was a large portion of our ridership who could not legally drive a vehicle that once they were able to do so, went off and purchased vehicles and saw that. Now, having said that, we did see last year a slight uptick in our ridership, and we contributed that to some of our programs, including an improved student pass and also the free bus rides for college students, because that program in particular is not just to go to and from school. If you are a college student, then you can use the buses at any time for any reason for free. And so that's resulted in hundreds of thousands of rides across the county. And I should probably scale for the committee in terms of where Thousand Oaks Transit lies. I had mentioned to you that our total service is about 400,000 riders a year. That's across everything that we do. Locally, it's about 275. That contrasts with Gold Coast Transit, who provides a service for Oxnard and Ventura and Port Hueneme and Ojai. They do over 4 million rides a year. So as you can see, we are only about 4 to 5% of the total transit ridership in this county. And out of our population, no more than 4 to 5% of our own population uses any of the local transit services in any given year. And we know that based upon prior surveys.
Okay, were there any other questions? Oh, yes, Gail. Commissioner Gilnell. Janelle, sorry.
I was just curious if any of the senior communities in town either can rent the buses or the service en masse if there was some function, not that anybody's going anywhere now, but in the past, would they rent the buses, or can they?
Yeah, the answer unfortunately is no. And the reason why is about 20% of our funding comes from the federal government. And one of their mandates is that we can't use our services to compete with private companies.
Okay.
Now, having said that, there are some narrow exceptions. For instance, there are some events that are at the Global Center or with CRPD that we partner with, and because it's city sponsored, we can leverage the vehicles for that. And Commissioner or Council, you reminded me, I forgot to mention just briefly, about 60% of our funding comes from the state, and that's in the form of 1/4 cent of that 7.25 cent sales tax that you pay. About 20% comes from the federal government, and we get that on the basis of our population and the services we offer. And then the last 20% comes from the fares that people use to pay for the services, local contributions, and even the vending machines in the transportation center. We get the cut out of every Coke sold, and we put that towards transit.
Thank you.
I think I saw another hand. Yes, Commissioner Bluell.
Hi, Mike. My question is, what are the ages of your buses? Are you getting near end of life on any of your buses where you?
Yeah,
Commissioner, I think you might need to increase the volume on your microphone.
Or just get closer to it. I should be able to hear it.
Okay, is this better? So I'm asking you, are your buses and your vehicles, are they all are any of them near an end of life situation where you may have to be looking forward to some major investments in the next couple of years?
Okay. Yeah, if I heard the question correctly, yeah, we actually have one of the youngest vehicle fleets in the county. We are required, and that's also an excellent question. People ask, why do you invest so much in a bus? A bus costs about $550,000. But keep in mind that the minimum life that we're going to use that bus is at least 12 years. And right now, our two oldest buses are at about 10 years. And then we have 6 buses that are in the 2 to 4 year range. And so, for instance, I had mentioned in 2024, we're going to have EV buses. So our two oldest buses will be replaced. And all of our buses, save one reserve bus, are all powered by CNG. So we don't use diesel to power any of our buses. So in terms of that, and there's also a standard that we have to meet for the federal government. We are in compliance with that. And we do have two of what we term our reserve buses, which get used very infrequently. And I'm actively trying to buy equivalent replacements for those that are EV. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that in the next 12 months. The problem is a CNG bus in that capacity cost about $120,000, whereas the exact bus in electric costs $300,000. So it's a question of where do we find the funding to do that? Now, it's still a good return on investment because we don't worry about maintaining the engine and the transmission and the brakes and some of the other things. So there is a good trade-off over time, even at the higher cost.
Okay, any other questions from our commissioners? Well, I do actually. I grew up in a city where you didn't need to own a car. So anything that has to do with public transportation, I'm really a proponent of. And it's so exciting to hear that you've waived the fee. But I'm wondering about the dial-a-ride for seniors. Is there any chance that I'm wondering about the decision about not lowering the cost on that during the pandemic?
Just to be clear, there's no fare being charged on the dial-a-ride service either.
Okay,
and that has been ongoing at the same time the bus. So off the top of my head, I believe the date was March 19th. It was the date that we stopped service. So the city has incurred, under normal circumstances, about $150,000 loss in terms of not charging those fares. And it's something that I, as the transit manager right now, am advocating that we keep this fare waiver going as long as it can be sustained. So while I did mention earlier that I thought perhaps after the first of the year, if it's a kind of situation that we can keep it going for an entire year, it would something that I would be supportive of. Mm-hmm. What we do have to keep in mind is we are trying very hard, even though there are 9 individual transit operators in this county, we are trying very hard to work together closely with one another and approach transit in the same way and have similar rules. And so if one of the larger agencies decides that they have to begin to charge fares, because there are no transit agencies in this county, with the exception of Camarillo and Ojai, that are charging fares right now. So long as we can sustain that as a group, I think the group will go along with that. But certainly, I mentioned Gold Coast with 4 million riders a year. They generate several $1 million a year in fares, and they are absolutely dependent upon those fares to be able to provide service. So it'll be a wait and see.
So I had another question, which is for dial-a-ride, if a senior is disabled, how does the driver come to the door, or does he wait in the car? Does he help the senior can he help the senior into the car? How does that work?
Certainly. Yeah, our service is defined as door to door, which means that we will go to the door, but we do that on request. We do ask that if you need that level of service, that you tell us at the time of reservation that I need the driver to come to the door. About 60% of our riders are completely mobile, and a lot of them are happy to wait out. The rest do require some assistance. In terms of assistance, we'll provide a limited amount of assistance. We're not allowed to, for instance, control your wheelchair for you or to hold you up, but we're certainly there to help guide you over obstacles. We will carry your bags or your groceries for you to the door so that you don't have to. We'll load them into the vehicle when we pick you up. But what we don't provide is what is termed as a medical level of transportation. So for instance, if someone needs to control your wheelchair for you, to literally hold you up, that's a level of service that has to be provided by what we call non-emergency medical transportation. Our drivers are neither qualified nor trained to provide that level of service. And
So,
I should mention that all of our drivers go through a minimum of 120 hours of training before they're allowed to carry any passengers.
and so is it same day reservations, or do you act for dial-a-ride? Is it same
Yeah.
day, or do you?
We can accommodate same day, which we define as 2 hours or before. We will also try to accommodate instant reservations, immediate reservations. If you have an immediate need and we have the capability, we will do that. We prefer day before reservations, and we will take reservations up to 2 weeks in advance. We also have a program that's called subscription. Let's say, for instance, you have a regular medical appointment every week at the same day and the same time. You can set up a reservation for up to 90 days at a time. And the only thing that you need to do is simply call us and tell us you don't need the ride on a particular day. I know we have some people that use the service that go to and from work every single day. So they set up a single reservation, and then that's good for them for the entire 90-day period. Now, we do have some limits on that, and that's to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to access the service. Right now, we don't have any capacity constraints because we're only operating at about 30% of what we're capable of operating in terms of the number of vehicles and resources that we have. So right now, it's okay. When we get closer, then we sometimes have to put some restrictions on those things.
So if I call you and you drop me off at my doctor's, then do I tell the driver come back and pick me up in an hour, or how does that work?
Now, what you will do is you will make a return ride reservation at the time you booked your outgoing ride. And you'll make the best guess that you can based upon your experience with your doctor, the location. And then if there is something extraordinary that comes along, you can call us and we'll do our best to accommodate you. Now, that's the local service. On the intercity service, because we have a very limited number of resources, and sometimes these vehicles are doing trips that are 30 and 35 miles long, we may not have that flexibility. If you book a return ride, we may need you to keep that ride, and it may not be possible for us to adjust for you, but we will attempt to do so whenever possible. But what we do ask is for riders to keep in mind that we can come as much as 15 minutes early too. So when you're booking your rides, try to make sure that it's a window of time that's reasonable. So for instance, if you call us at 2 o'clock or call us to say, I want a 2 o'clock ride to the grocery store, don't ask us for a 2:30 return back from the grocery store. We might be early, or we might be 15 minutes late picking you up. And under normal circumstances, we might also have to pick up or drop somebody else off before we get you. So we typically ask you to give us at least an hour to get you to your location, and an hour in between your reservations.
So if I wanted to go from Thousand Oaks to outside of the county, go to maybe Kaiser, Woodland Hills, is that possible or no?
It is possible if you're covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And what would happen is we would bring you to our transportation center, and then the corresponding service in LA County called LA Access would take you to your location within LA County. Now, there is a 21 trip limit annually that you can do that without actually being qualified under their service, which is, unfortunately for Ventura County residents, an arduous task. It's almost an 8-hour day to do that, because it's about a 2-hour ride to a location to be tested, wait to be tested, and your 2-hour ride back. But you can do that up to 21 times a year. If you need a ride anywhere within Ventura County, then you can use our services to get as far as Camarillo, and then you can transfer to Gold Coast to get to anywhere in Thousand Oaks, Port Hueneme, Ojai, or Oxnard. And then they can also make arrangements to transfer you can even get to Santa Paula and Fillmore as well. And that's both for ADA and seniors.
Yes, Stephanie.
Just really quickly, Mike, is the VC AAA still operating the Meta Ride services that would drive people from Thousand Oaks to either Kaiser and Woodland Hills or to UCLA Medical Center?
I know that the service was available. I don't know what impacts the pandemic has had on its availability, but if anybody would like to reach out to me, I'll be happy to provide contact information for VC AAA and the folks that run that program. And if I can get an answer today, I'll even post it up to our website as information.
That kind of goes with what Commissioner Guerra was asking about. And I think that's a really great service, and it's free. And
Yes.
they do take you there, and they wait for you for your appointment and bring you
Right.
back. So.
And I might add, VC AAA also has a program for all residents of the county, and I don't believe there's any qualifying restrictions. They will assist you with helping to pay for your fares. They pre-purchase ride tickets from all the area agencies, and they do distribute those out on a first come, first served basis as well. So once fares resumes, particularly for those people that are on fixed limited incomes, we recognize that an $8 round trip and dial-a-ride is a struggle.
Mhm.
Keeping in mind that ride is costing the city $80 to provide, and the state says you've got to collect 10% of the cost. So it's a great service for VC AAA to offer. So I would encourage anybody that is in dial-a-ride that needs that level of assistance to reach out to them.
I know this sounds like a silly question, but since I only use my car, where is the transportation center?
No, that's an excellent question. We hide it on purpose. No, it's located actually in the intersection of the 101 and 23 freeways. It's that large parking lot that's off to the side. The exact address is 265 South Rancho Road. And 3 of our 5 bus routes come to that location. The intercity service that operates between Woodland Hills and Oxnard, the VCTC bus, those are the light powder blue buses you see rolling around town, and also the VCTC East that provides service between Thousand Oaks, Moore Park, and Simi Valley, stop there, as well as the 161 bus that will take you to Woodland Hills, which is operated by LA Metro, and that's an orange bus that you often see running up and down Thousand Oaks Boulevard, sometimes along Agoura Road as well. And then finally, there is the Commuter Express 422 and 423 services that can get you into downtown LA. Those services only operate Monday through Friday and are designed specifically for commuters. So they're only offered early in the morning and late in the afternoon and then into the evening. That's a great service if you ever get called down to downtown for, say, federal jury duty. Just hop on the bus and ride it all the way and get off.
Wow, yes. Thank you.
Now, if you need to go to UCLA, the actual campus of UCLA or Union Station as well, that's also a service that you could avail yourself of. So we do have regional transit, but it is somewhat limited. And you can also use the VCTC service to get up into Santa Barbara. And if we want to talk about a bargain, of course, it's a real bargain right now because it's free. But if you are a senior in our community and wanted to do a round trip to Santa Barbara and back on the bus, you could do it for less than $250.
Wow.
Compare
That's
that to at 55 cents a mile in your car and the 100-mile round trip. It's a pretty good bargain.
Where does it drop you off? At the train station there?
Well, there's multiple locations in terms of along the path. And I forget what the terminus is off the top of my head, but let me give you a web address if you're even slightly curious. It is GoVentura, all one word, .org.
Thank you so much.
That is the website for the VCTC Intercity service, and they have all of their schedules posted online. And of course, their service is free right now as well.
Thank you so much. Were there any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Williams.
You're muted, Commissioner.
Commissioner, can you,
Sorry about that. Is there a limit on the number of people that can ride those
buses right now because of COVID.
Yes, so normally a bus sitting and standing capacity, we have buses that would normally carry between 40 and 55 people. We're currently limiting that between 8 and 13, depending upon the size of the bus. Now, we don't have and can't specifically get you 6 foot separation. What we do ask passengers to do is to spread out on the available seats. And of course, we can't require somebody to sit down. So if somebody wants to stand on the bus, they're able to do so. But we ask people to use reasonable judgment. And of course, the mask is mandatory. It's not negotiable. Even if you feel we even stopped allowing eating and drinking on the bus because some people were using that as a reason not to wear a mask. There are some very narrowly defined exceptions for medical reasons, but you'll have to provide proof of that.
Were there any? Yes, Commissioner Gindel.
Janelle.
Sorry.
Just curious, since the county has moved in a different tier, does that affect the capacity at all, or is that basically the same until we're cleared?
We have not decided on that yet.
Okay.
We will probably, as the exposure rate, infection rates go down, we will probably creep that up. Certainly when school getting back in session, I don't know if I mentioned we're about at 50% capacity. Our missing 50% are students and those seniors who are still too concerned about the virus to actually use the service, or the facilities, for instance, at the Global Center are closed. So when those reopen, we want to make sure that we don't unnecessarily turn anybody away. At the same time, we can't safely transport 50 people right now. So there will probably be a slow creep up. So where it was 8 to 13, maybe now it'll be 12 to 20, depending on the size of the bus.
All right. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, well, this has been so informative and free. You
No
can't
decision yet.
You can't beat the price. So thank you so much for that very informative presentation. And at this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Belding to announce the liaison and agency reports.
Thank you, Chair Guerra. Item 6 on the agenda is the liaison and agency reports. So besides advising City Council on items related to seniors, the Commission serves as liaisons to various local senior agencies. And I'm going to call on commissioners to provide some updates. First of all, I'd like to introduce Patti Hamm, Supervisor of the Global Adult Community Center. And she will update us on all the happenings and good things going on over there. Patti?
Hey, everybody. So the center is unfortunately still closed to the public. However, we are doing certain things that we can do based on the tiers that we are in. In the month of October, High Cap is doing an open enrollment one-stop shop here at Global. October 26th is the first date, and they have three dates actually in November, and the workshop is from 9 a.m. to 3, but you have to call them to make a reservation. You have to contact High Cap at 805-477-7300 extension 5, or 1-800-434-0222, and they can make an appointment for you. And what the one-stop shop is, it's Ventura County Area Agency on Aging Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program. And what they will do is they come in and they help seniors, assist them in enrolling or even navigating the 2021 Medicare open enrollment. As you know, as a senior, every year there's different changes, and they're here to help seniors navigate that. And it's a really important workshop for seniors if you need help with your Medicare questions. We have exciting news. We can't do any special events inside the building, but we're going to take it outside where we're allowed. And normally we have a brats and beer special event in October that we celebrate Oktoberfest. Obviously, we can't do beer this year, so we're going to do brats and bingo drive-in style out in our parking lot. And it's $10 per car, 2-person max per car, and they have to live in the same household. And we'll be serving seniors in their car Oktoberfest meal with pretzels and brats and German potato salad and yummy goodies and strudel. And then after they're done eating, we'll play some games of bingo, which we're going to broadcast over an FM station in their cars so that they can hear it. And we have prizes like gift cards for stores that they can win. So no cash prizes on this bingo, but I think they'll have fun. And you can call the center to register, and the number is 805-381-2744, or you can go onto our website and register as well. And of course, we couldn't pass up October with some Halloween celebrations. So we're going to do a masquerade breakfast on I didn't tell you when Oktoberfest was. I'm sorry. So the brats and bingo is next Friday, October 16th from 5 to 6:30. And tickets are still available, but they are limited because we can only have so many spaces available. And then the masquerade breakfast is Friday, October 30th from 9 to 11. And it's $5 a ticket, and we'll be serving breakfast and having a costume contest and a fun little cakewalk activity where everyone will win some kind of prize or a cake. You can register at the phone number 805-381-2744 or on our website. Again, we do have a couple of seminars coming up. Wednesday, October 14th, Downsizing, How to Sell Your Stuff. Annette Rosma will come and do a Zoom meeting workshop for us. Seniors know the options on how to liquidate your household belongings or to prepare for moving or just to make your home comfortable and get rid of some stuff. How do you sell it and get rid of it? We also have a breast cancer screening Zoom meeting on Friday, October 16th from 1 to 2 with Dr. Bahidini, and she will discuss breast cancer screenings, early detection, myths and facts about breast cancer, and diet fasting. And that will be Friday, October 6th. And if you look in our Gazette, you'll see we have a plethora of classes that we're doing on Zoom. Unfortunately, we're not doing yet, but we are doing them on Zoom. And
Patti, you're on mute.
oh, there we go. We also listed, because we are going to, actually, I think someone else is going to handle that, so I won't tell you that. That's a secret. All right, so I think that's it for October.
Yay, sounds like
Thank you
fun.
so much. As usual, there really are a plethora of things going on over there. And I know bingo is like one of the most popular things at the center. So I'm so glad there'll be a big event for that. And I really appreciate you sharing all that with us. Thank you. We're now on to item B, which is the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, or we call it the CSVP. Commissioner Williams is our liaison to the CSVP and coordinates updates for us. So Commissioner Williams, would you please like to share with us your report?
Gladly, yes. This is from Julie Spivak, of course, who often comes and does this report herself. Well, the main thing is on January 13th, 2021, The 7th annual Wellness Fest will be held. Though they won't be able to have the vendors inside and the screenings, they're going to have one anyway. And because they want to continue to include seniors and local partner agencies in doing something supportive and fun for our community. So it's going to have a drive-through Wellness Fest on the road for seniors this year. They're going to hand out about 400 vendor goodie bags and 300 free lunches at the Goebel Center from 11:30 to 1:30. And remember, this is January 13th next year, so put it in your calendar already. And if your volunteer agency is interested in sponsoring the fundraiser, please contact the office, the CSVP office, for information. If you're looking for a new volunteer opportunity, there's a new group called Caregivers, Volunteers Assisting the Elderly, and it's a grassroots organization that provides good neighborly assistance to the elderly in our community who can't help themselves. It's a very rewarding way to give back to others who are in need. And so they're looking for volunteers. It offers phone friends opportunities, somebody to call a homebound senior to check on their well-being and to foster peer-to-peer relationships. Also, CASA court appointed special advocates. Become a CASA volunteer. Join an informational session to learn about CASA of Ventura County and how you can make a difference in the life of an abused, abandoned, or neglected child. The Goebel Center is still unfortunately closed to the public, but there will be 6 in-voter locations in Thousand Oaks for the upcoming election. The center will be opened Saturday, October 31st, 10:30 to 6, Sunday, November 1st, 10 to 6, Monday, November 2nd, 10 to 6, and Tuesday, November 3rd, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if people want to walk in to vote, here is an opportunity for them to do that. So if you want more information, be sure to call Julie at 381-2742, and she'll be happy to help you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Williams, for that report. That is really good. The Wellness Fest, by the way, is just one of the most exciting things that we do. And as Council on Aging, we very much participate in that. So you'll probably see all of us, involved in there as well. Really wonderful stuff. Thank you so much. Item C on the agenda has now been moved, and we will tackle that item on the November televised meeting of the Council on Aging. So thank you all so much. And I will turn it back over to our chair, Gara.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Belding. So item 7A, the commissioner reports, is on health. The Council on Aging researches a number of items of interest to seniors throughout the year. And this year, I am going to be giving a report on health. And if Francine can share the screen. So last year, as a commissioner, I volunteered to talk about health as it pertains to seniors in our community. And one of the reports that I did was on fall prevention. So this particular session, I wanted to talk about shots for safety. And I know that that sounds kind of ominous, but I promise you that it's not. It's through the National Institute on Aging. So what does shots for safety mean? And if I can get the next slide. So as you know, as you get older, your doctor may recommend vaccinations or shots to prevent certain illnesses that'll keep you healthy. So some of the shots that you may want to talk about with your doctor are the following, or to keep them up to date. There's the flu vaccine, the pneumococcal disease, which is pneumonia, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, which is whooping cough, shingles, measles, and mumps, and rubella. The next slide. So what I wanted to talk about and highlight for this particular session is the flu shot. So as you know, and if you haven't already gotten a flu shot, this is flu season. Flu season usually occurs between fall and winter, and it peaks between December and February. But as some of you may know, if you've experienced a late flu, if you've gotten the flu as late as May. So just for you to know, if you've never gotten the flu before, some of the symptoms are fever, chills, sore throat, stuffy nose, headache, and muscle aches. Now, some of these symptoms can be a little bit dangerous because then it can contribute and go into pneumonia. So just something for you to discuss with your doctor as you're thinking about some of these vaccinations. The ideal time, and there is an ideal time to get your flu shot, and that's between September and November. And something that I didn't know until I read this article, that it does take 2 weeks for your shot to start working. The best part about this particular vaccination is that Medicare will pay for the shot. The next slide. So that was kind of a brief update, but if you wanted to take the time to do some research on all of the different vaccinations that affect us as we age, the article that I highlighted in this particular discussion was Shots for Safety, and that was presented by the National Institute on Aging. And I also referenced flu season, and that's by the CDC, July 12th, 2018. So hopefully I'll be able to present you with some other issues that pertain to seniors and health in the coming televised meetings. And now, I think the next item on our agenda is commissioner comments. And this is the portion of our meeting where commissioners can provide announcements and in which no action or discussion by the commission will be taken. So at this time, are there any commissioner comments? And just raise your hand if you want to be called on. Yes, Commissioner Williams. You have to get yourself off mute.
I was. Sorry. It bounced back on again. One of the ways we highlight the outstanding volunteer services of seniors in our area is the Senior of the Year program, the award we give each June to an outstanding senior. This year, we hope to be able to hold the program at Goebel Center. Last year, it was on Zoom, which is not quite as exciting and as outstanding, but you may want to be considering an exemplary senior volunteer to be awarded this year's recognition, and we'll be accepting applications after the first of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Anyone else for commissioner comments? Okay, I have a comment, and I think as Patti Hamm mentioned, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So just for you to know, you might want to look at the website and take a look at all of the information as far as breast cancer screening. The other is Tuesday, November 10th at 4 p.m. Senior Concerns will present an update on COVID-19 by Dr. Carlo Reyes, who is the Assistant Medical Director at Los Robles. If you want to make a reservation for their Zoom meeting, you can go to their website at seniorconcerns.org/seminars to register. And if there are no other comments, before I adjourn this meeting, I have just a few reminders. If you would like any information about the Council on Aging or have questions about the agenda items discussed, please call 805-381-7362, or you can reach us by emailing councilonaging@toaks.org. There being no further business to come before the Commission, the Council on Aging meeting is adjourned to our next regular meeting. Thank you so much for watching us. Bye-bye. Have a nice afternoon.